Welcome to the Hold the Line podcast, where you get news, information, and connection to the community of gaming. Today we are going to discuss another section in the Hold the Line podcast. This one is Tech with Tushar, so hang on, and this is Hold the Line.
Hold the line. We are Hold the Line.
And I'd like to introduce Tushar, who does our tech section. Hey there.
Hello. For those of you who have heard me on this segment before and are watching now, this is what I look like. You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
You may proceed.
Okay, good. We're going to have a casual tech discussion today, some of which is going to touch outside the realm of gaming, as per usual. First, and again, this doesn't have a lot to do with gaming, but we now know that the emergency broadcast system is hackable. Isn't that fun? Yeah, they just discovered that the emergency alert system is hackable and vulnerable to attacks. What they said that a remote takeover happened, and the application servers were from a company called Digital Alert Systems, and they had a firmware update that actually included a private secure shell. So this is why I need you, Tech Man. What's a private secure shell key?
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about the Android exploit.
Oh, we're going to get there.
Oh, okay.
I got to throw this at you. It's like, I've got to see if you're on your game. I've got to throw you things you're not prepared for.
Oh, well, you definitely succeeded this time because
Okay.
I haven't really been reading up on it. Unfortunately, my 9 to 5 keeps me pretty busy these days.
No,
But,
that's
I mean,
okay.
yeah, but we could talk about it. Yeah. So, yes, there was in fact a critical vulnerability hack that made the emergency alert system completely hackable.
What's root access?
Root access is when you're looking at any system and pretty much you have admin access. So like a lot of times on Linux or Unix systems, like in Windows, you're used to calling it account administrator. On the other side, you're kind of used to calling it root. So in Android, that kind of follows through, and a lot of system kind of everybody considers admin access as root. So when you have root access, you literally have root access. You can do whatever you want to the machines because you have rights to all of the modules, all of the coding, and all the other stuff all the little apps and APIs that you want to mess with is what root access allows you to do.
And considering that the emergency alert system is just pre-recorded message, which, you can change at any time, so it can spell out your Philadelphia area for you.
Yep.
I think that you could have some serious mischief if you did that.
Oh, you totally could. I'm not really going to get into what I would do if I had control of the emergency broadcast system, but I mean, now you have the emergency broadcast system that's also going out over phones too. So it's not just kind of like the whole TV thing. Like, you got a little red bar going across our emergency broadcast system. There's a tornado heading your way, get to your basement or get blown away to wherever. But I don't know about you, but at least I get a little ping from the emergency broadcast system on my phone too now. So, I'll get a little thing in the morning that will be like, oh, well, you know what, you got flash flood warnings for, X, Y, and Z time throughout the day. So it's something that's now just not only based in television, but permeates other forms of media that people see all the time. So, yeah, a lot of mischief could occur if someone just go in and start changing the message.
You think they would secure that slightly better, considering it is like a first line of defense for, yellow alerts and all that
Well,
kid
yeah,
lost kid and everything.
that's the most important part, is that it's not really only weather that the emergency broadcast system does. It's also Amber Alerts.
That's the word.
So
It's yellow. It's a kind of
yellow
yellow.
alert, yeah. Yellow is more of a kind of one of those security, today is a yellow day sort of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, Amber Alerts are also broadcast over the emergency broadcast system. So there is a lot more than just weather that can be messed with. And when you're dealing with that kind of sensitive information, it's never good to have that to be able to happen.
Talking about exploits, Google has just patched the Android threat for the working exploit. Now, why a security researcher would publish a working exploit code is beyond me.
Well, it's a little weird. Like I don't think anybody was actually affected by it. Like, I do not believe a single user was affected by this, because it was really quiet. Like the day that I found out it was happening, which was yesterday, was the first I saw of it. It was already being patched. So apparently, this is something that happened back in, I guess it was found earlier this year, and Google already has written all the code to patch it up, and they've sent it to all the different carriers. So now it's just kind of like, all right, now which phones are going to get the update? So there might be a couple different models from a couple different carriers that are getting the update. If you do get a flash on your Android device that says, hey, you have an update ready, get it. But it's kind of now that, okay, Google's coded it, and the same way everything else works that Google puts out, including OS releases, is that now the carrier's got to tool with it and fiddle with it and make sure it works with their systems and any phones that are on that. So I generally get my security news from Sophos. I trust them, and they have a blog called Naked Security, which is generally pretty good. So the first time I saw this, some company was named Blue in the name. Blue Box? Is that right? Yeah. It was a Blue Box Software or something like that, which is a small, I guess, up-and-coming security firm. And I'm pretty sure what this was is that they found the exploit and maybe put it out there to make a name for themselves and be like, hey, guess what, guys? You had a exploit that could have, or you have a vulnerability that could have been exploited ever since, I want to say, Donut. And we found it. So, yay us.
Right.
Why don't you guys come and give us some money? We'll do security work for you. But Sophos was kind of also as skeptical as I was, because I haven't heard of any kind of issue of this happening. If this is some sort of exploit that should have affected every phone that I've had since Android 1.04, then why hasn't anything happened?
They said anyone with a moderate skills to modify an existing app. Basically, this thing, what's the worst it can be? It says that you could modify an app without changing the cryptographic signature to certify it hasn't been tampered with. So what? Like, you modify it to carry some sort of Trojan virus? What can you do with it?
You can do whatever you want with it. If you can modify the code inside, but you can keep the cryptographic signature the same, what it makes it happen is, say, for example, you have the BattleNet or WoW Armory app on your phone. So what I can do is, if I had those sorts of skills, I can go in there and I can change some information, change some lines of code, change some modules, but keep the signature the same to make it look like, yes, this is actually the Armory app that's coming from Blizzard Entertainment.
It's authenticated, okay.
Right. So that's kind of what they mean by that. But the thing is that Google already has measures in place in their Play Store that catches that. So even though this supposed vulnerability existed, Google's had the power to be like, oh, wait, I see what you're doing there. I don't like that. And it'll stop. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways for people to make sure that they're not getting that kind of malware, that kind of potentially infected material, which, like I said, pretty sure hasn't affected anybody. But if you get all your stuff from the Google Play Store, you are at zero risk for anything happening to you, because Google already has stuff in place to find it, destroy it, and preventing it from getting on your system. There's a number of third-party app stores that a lot of people get apps from, but again, nobody's found any exploited keys, so I really question how serious the issue actually is.
Okay. What to do about nothing? That's good to know.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay. Tomorrow is the release of the PS4 Dev Kit applications for educators of tomorrow. This is really neat because it is invitation only, apparently. But if you're an educator, an academic, and you want to apply for a PS4 development kit, you can do that through the PlayStation First Academic Program, and Sony is obviously taking care of that. So they include access to the full suite of PlayStation software, hardware for instructional purposes, lessons in programming, computer engineering, and developing software. So I don't know what the ages require of this, but I assume that, any kind of academic would include all the way up through college, which would be pretty neat for people that are, especially
Yeah.
in development,
Uh,
classes.
when you look at something like this, I'm actually really excited about this because I think it's a fantastic idea for educators to be able to have access to this sort of hardware and this sort of software and the modules to be able to not only make educational software but kind of teach at the same time. And when it comes to tech, start them young, always.
Well, you're a big
It,
proponent of the everyone should code
I am
belief.
big proponent of everyone should code. I believe that it's something that, given the way everything runs right now, and given that computers run everything, it's kind of it's almost a skill that people need. Like, remember back in the day, well, we probably don't remember back in the day, but back in the day when typing was a skill. Like,
Right.
it's like,
Right,
okay, well,
right.
everybody needs to learn how to type. Now it's kind of, okay, let's take this a step further. Everything's running on a computer. Everybody kind of needs to know a little bit how to code. Maybe some scripting, maybe some actual C# programming or something like that. But it's important for young people to have that concept because from this point, it's only going to get more advanced. Um, like if you look at what kind of stuff I used to program when I was in high school in C++ and Java, like it's leapt for what was possible to do for a computer programmer that's got some skills. So, and like you said, I would also imagine it goes up through college because when you talk about programming, there's so many different levels of it that you can have kids that are going in there just making little modules saying "Hello World" like everybody learns how to do when they start, up to kind of some more advanced stuff. And especially having the full suite of the Sony hardware and software modules, I think that's definitely going to be an awesome thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yay, Sony. Good
Yeah,
thinking.
good for them.
One of my favorite stories. A rogue employee is fired for turning his network into a Bitcoin mining colony for the Esports Entertainment Association. They call him unidentified staffer, although I believe that it did come out later on what his name was. From the Esports Entertainment Association, admitted that its software. This is the software that if you ever play Counter Strike, a lot of them use it to if you're like an anti-cheating mode and you want to play each other in Counter-Strike, this is the software that you use. So just kind of give you who this is. Has been altered to secretly mine bitcoins. And they've been terminated, obviously. There's going to be more than just a termination. And there is class action suits being processed at this point. I believe I read something today having that person say that they were not responsible. They didn't personally get any money out of this, that it was, I don't know if they're trying to say it's altruistic purposes for the company's gain, but the
The thing is,
Bitcoin mining companies.
you can. I mean, it's almost you could almost equate it to a gold farming operation. But the primary difference between gold farming and bitcoins is if you look at, like any game, and of course, for some reason, I always keep going back to Blizzard. If you're like gold farming for a while, and that goes on, you have these folks in China, they've been investigating that all they do is they wake up and they farm gold and then they sell gold. And they have like a 5-minute lunch break and then they farm more gold. And then they sleep for an
Exactly.
hour and they farm more gold. The difference between that and this is that if you look at gold or something like that in another game, it really has no cash value. They kind of assign a cash value to it. It's like, oh, I'll give you 10,000 gold for $10 or something arbitrary. But from what I understand about Bitcoin, it's actually kind of like a currency and has an exchange rate with a dollar and you can like use it for real things. So
Right.
it's not exactly the same. So anybody that's talking about like altruistic purposes for doing that, I mean, is still guilty of something.
Well, maybe they meant altruistic for the company, like they were trying to use these computers to gain profits for the company, which I don't think there's anything illegal about mining bitcoins and using your resources toward that. I think
Right.
it's just if you take over your company that's not expecting it and then just hijack it to do so. It's basically like printing counterfeit cash.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I think that'd be a good analogy to that. And I mean, it's not really counterfeit cash. It's
Real cash.
like counterfeit bitcoins. No.
No, I
But
don't. I
yeah,
don't know.
it's a little different than
But what if someone had hired
Bitcoin.
them to do that? Would it then be legal, correct? I mean, you're allowed to use your computing resources towards that.
From what I understand, yes. I'm not too up on Bitcoin, but because I've never, I don't have any Bitcoins. I don't purchase anything or make transactions with bitcoins. But from what I understand, yeah, that's totally legal.
Well, at this point, unless you are a huge company like this, it's really pointless for you to turn your home PCs into this, because the calculations you can do are not going to give you, you don't have enough to earn bitcoins. They're just a couple computers. You would need thousands and thousands.
Right.
Of them.
You'd need like a farm.
You would need a farm. So it makes sense for a company to do that, but it'd be
Mm-hmm.
it'd be interesting to see over time, like, where he got this